You wake up, check your phone, and go through your routine. You eat, work, scroll, sleep, and repeat. Days pass, and months blur together. Somewhere in the middle of it all, you begin to feel something. A strange emptiness. It's not pain. It's not boredom. It's something deeper. A silent void. You are not alone. Millions today report the same feeling, but few truly understand why. The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung warned of this nearly a century ago. In a world obsessed with progress, we've forgotten something vital. The soul. This is a story about that loss, and how Jung's ideas might just help us recover what we've been missing. Let's begin not with a theory, but with a feeling. The quiet ache that something isn't right. You're doing everything you're supposed to, following the plan, but fulfillment never arrives. This isn't just a personal issue. It's a widespread epidemic. Depression, anxiety, loneliness, and burnout have reached unprecedented levels. Even among those who appear to have succeeded by conventional standards, we're achieving more and feeling less. It's tempting to frame this as a medical problem, perhaps a chemical imbalance, and sometimes that may be true. But Jung would challenge us to look deeper, not just at the mind, but at the soul. For Jung, this modern emptiness was more than an emotional deficiency. It was a spiritual crisis, a separation from our deeper, authentic selves. Carl Gustav Jung was born in 1875 in Switzerland, a brilliant psychiatrist and initially a close collaborator of Sigmund Freud. Jung eventually broke away from Freud's strictly materialistic interpretation of the human mind. Jung believed there was more to the psyche than repressed memories or sexual drive. He proposed a structure that included a conscious ego and a vast unconscious realm beneath it. Not only did we each have a personal unconscious, but we were all connected to a collective unconscious, a shared reservoir of symbols, myths, and archetypes inherited through generations. Jung saw the modern human being as spiritually homeless. The rise of industrialization stripped life of mystery. Science displaced the sacred. Religion became ritual without experience. The myths that once gave us orientation, stories of gods, heroes, and the cycles of life and death, were dismissed as primitive superstition. But Jung believed they weren't outdated. They were psychological blueprints, symbolic maps of the inner world. Without them, we become disoriented. We accomplish goals but feel no sense of arrival. We consume endlessly but never feel satisfied. In Jung's view, this emptiness emerges when we become overly identified with the ego, the socially constructed self, the mask we wear, the persona we present to the world. We're taught how to build resumes, but not how to cultivate souls. How to succeed externally, but not how to grow inwardly. So, what is the remedy? Jung called it individuation. This isn't about isolation or self-centeredness. It's about becoming whole. Individuation is the lifelong process of integrating the hidden parts of ourselves, the dreams, fears, longings, and unresolved wounds we've suppressed in order to fit into society. The journey requires us to confront the shadow, the aspects of our personality we try to deny or hide. For example, you see yourself as compassionate, yet harbor resentment. You try to appear strong, but hide your vulnerability. Jung tells us, confront those places. That's where the soul waits. Beyond the shadow, we meet the anima or animus, the inner feminine in men and inner masculine in women. Archetypes that serve as bridges to the unconscious. And finally, we approach the self, the totality of who we are, far beyond our public identities. It demands patience, self-reflection, and the courage to confront who we truly are. Jung believed that the psyche communicates not in plain logic, but through symbols. That's why dreams, art, and mythology matter so deeply. In modern society, we often dismiss these as mere entertainment, but to Jung, they were sacred, revelations from the unconscious. Even today's movies, like Star Wars, The Matrix, or Fight Club, are built on Jungian themes. The hero's journey, the descent into chaos, the transformative rebirth. We are drawn to these stories because they reflect something essential within us, an inner process we have forgotten to honor. But if the soul is calling to us, why do we so often ignore it? Jung believed that the modern world conditions us to fear depth and avoid silence. We drown ourselves in stimulation, constant scrolling, endless content, digital noise. Because facing the truth within can be uncomfortable. There is no algorithm for shadow work, no fast track to self-discovery. Yet, unless we learn to pause, unless we create space for stillness, we will never hear what the soul is trying to say. Jung didn't suggest abandoning the modern world. He wasn't against science or success. He simply believed they weren't enough on their own. We need balance. Between reason and mystery, between logic and intuition, between technology and timeless wisdom. So where do we begin? Jung offered no rigid formula. Instead, he recommended practices that open the door inward. Dream journaling, artistic expression, introspection, meaningful conversation, and yes, psychotherapy. Not as solutions, but as ways of exploring. Above all, he emphasized authenticity, living not by trends, but by truth. Perhaps this emptiness we feel is not a flaw, but a signal, a spiritual hunger, not for more stimulation, but for a deeper contact with ourselves. Carl Jung never claimed to have all the answers, but he pointed us toward a path inward, and maybe that is where the healing begins. Not by becoming someone new, but by finally meeting the self that has always been waiting. If this journey stirred something in you, a question, a longing, or even a quiet recognition, know that you're not alone. The search for meaning is not weakness. It's a sign of life. Thank you for walking a few steps of that path with us. Until next time, stay curious, stay human.